You come and you ask somebody, what do they need? And they say, well, my greatest need in life is my own self-esteem. I feel bad about myself. I feel guilty. I have guilt feelings. You know what happens when somebody goes into a psychiatrist or a psychologist? Basically, modern day psychiatry deals with man's greatest problem as being what? What are some of the things? What is it?
Self-pity.
Well, it's basically, man's got all these problems. Psychology recognizes man has problems. But what do? They basically try to get them to blame the problems on somebody else. I mean, it's true. You go into those things, and what do they say? They start asking you about your parents. They start asking about how you were raised. They start asking you about this. In other words, in the end, just blame your problems on other people. Or you are an object of self-pity, not an object that's guilty. In other words, we can find out reasons why these things have happened to you. Reasons that aren't your fault. Reasons that have to do with diseases that you have. And so basically what they dream, oh, you're a schizophrenic. That's why you have these problems. You're an alcoholic. Not you're a drunkard and you're guilty. You've inherited these tendencies towards being an alcoholic. You have a disease. Now, rather than being an object that is guilty and blameworthy, you are an object of pity. And you see, we wouldn't want to blame you for anything because then you might feel guilty. And the very object, as far as a lot of psychiatric tendencies go, I mean, when they look at this, they say, well, that's the problem. We've got a bunch of people going around feeling guilty. Well, you know why they feel guilty? Because God designed a conscience into them. And they've actually committed sin. And they actually are guilty. And so when they come in, you've got these supposed professionals, and they look at them, and they say, well, the problem is you have guilt feelings. And we want you to get rid of these guilt feelings. Well, they have guilt feelings because they actually are guilty. And their conscience is telling them so. Guilty, 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 guilty. And so what they do is they try to put the blame on somebody else. They try to put the blame on a disease, or they medicate them so that they can't even think about it anymore. You know that's true. So right there, you have the world looking at man, and what's his greatest problem? He just needs to have positive self-esteem. He needs to put away all the guilt feelings. And so we can take the love in the opposite direction where, well, really, man just needs people to be nice to him, and he needs to be nice to himself, and he needs to think nice thoughts about himself. And what he really needs is somebody to come along and be nice to him. He needs a doctor who's going to sit him down and tell him that his problems really come from all other areas. They don't come from himself. But that isn't the kind of love man needs.